Hi guys, welcome back. So, it's actually Thursday. I didn't do anything yesterday except for rest. I listened to my body, which is pretty important for marathon training. So instead of doing like go, 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 like I usually do for marathon training, like or 5 days a week of running, it's going to be 2 days on, 1 day off to rest. Resting is actually really important. I didn't know that for anything, for any kind of training. That's when our muscles are built. But actually, it was yesterday. I listened to my body. When I woke up, it felt like I got hit by a bus. So it's pretty important to like honor our body. Usually, I'd run through it and be like, strength, like that's pain leaving my body, and like all of these like mental things that I heard are like, are we got to be stronger than our excuses and like train insane. Like one of my biggest people that I look up to is David Goggins, right? Like, because I have that mindset and like I come from that kind of background, and he is somebody that I look up to greatly for like my running. And like I have that like tough endurance, right? I believe that whole like, we got to build calluses in our mind and keep going, and like that's the thing. So when I got up yesterday morning, I ended up going on a hike. Like I love being in nature. I appreciate nature so much. And like I connect. That's where like most of my healing is done, right? I like being a self healer, right? Like I think that there's healing in solitude, and that's where most of our wisdom comes from. And I do practice Reiki, and that's where like a lot of my spiritual stuff comes from too, is like being in nature and like connecting with the universe. So I did that yesterday. And then I ended up doing stuff for my recovery. Like, I mean, I am in recovery from crystal meth and alcohol. And in the end of it, it was anything that I can get my hands on. I ended up being addicted to oxys, and so like, it was nice though when I did something for my recovery. I kind of realized with me being in the last like 50 days, I was probably like getting into the last 40 days now of my 1 year away from drinking. I've had 2 years before, like I had 868 days when I went out last year. But then, so I'm coming into my next year again. And so I was like, you know what? Like, I wouldn't have what I have today, the life that I live, if it wasn't for recovery, right? So I got to start, I get to watch the language we put into life, right? The words we attach to our experience become our experience. And like words like get to and honor and privilege, like, because life is a privilege for me. I was going to take my own life in 2017, and when like my addiction got too much, and then like actually last month I was having suicidal thoughts due to a different situation where I ended up having a mental breakdown. So I remember that all of this is a privilege for me, right? And so like I get to have this life. I get to put in like everything that I have into recovery. If my recovery is not number one, everything that I put before my recovery, I stand to lose, including my recovery. And so like yesterday, I was like, no, like every day I want to put in that for my recovery, because that puts in a different quality of life, right? Like every day, like whatever I put into it, I'm going to get back tenfold. And that's not why I want to. It's because like life graced me with that, right? Like I mean, my life before this was like get up whenever I would sleep, which was like once every like 4 days for like maybe 45. I was sleeping maybe about 4 hours a week at the point where I was. And now it's like I get up, I'm grateful that I wake up every day, and and it's beautiful, right? And so then I mean, like that was the way the day was supposed to go yesterday. But then I did yoga at night, and and it's like being grateful. Gratitude is a very key component for my recovery, because I was the most ungrateful, selfish person before. I wasn't able to do anything for anybody unless I knew I was getting something out of it. Now, the only thing that I get out of doing things for people is like feeling good and knowing that I'm helping somebody. And even then, for me, that feels a little selfish, because it's like I'm still getting something good out of it. I'm feeling good. And like for me, that's selfish too. I believe that good deeds should go unnoticed. Here's a challenge. Do something good without getting found out about it, or without telling somebody about it. There's another thing. Happiness is one of the hardest emotions to experience alone. I know for me that I can experience sadness alone. I can experience anger, grief, disgust, like all these emotions alone. But one of the hardest things that I have to do is when I'm happy, not to share that with others. So, I mean, I like being happy, but it's like, wow, that's pretty interesting, because like happiness is a great emotion. But like to keep that to ourselves is hard. But I mean, it's not something that we should keep to ourselves. I believe happiness is beautiful. But I was like, ooh, that's an interesting one. And so, like, gratitude, I love gratitude. Gratitude, though, is a better put in action, is like, it's an action word. But like, to not, like, because I think that's ego too. But I mean, like, however you're practicing it is good. Don't ever be ashamed of doing good in this world. Actually, I think shame's a bad thing, but whatever. Like, this is just my personal opinion, right? And like, just, oh my, right? Like, just no, do you, honey, right? But don't be an asshole. Please don't be an asshole. And sorry if that's like got a bleep, bleep, whatever. I am still learning these things, right? And so, yeah, so like, listen to our bodies. Remember that our bodies are our best friends, right? From the day that we're born till the day that we die, we are with ourselves 100% all the time. So make it a good place to be, right? Like, correct ourselves when we have a bad thought. Like, I know for me, when I get to, like, when I tell myself I'm stupid, ugly, fat, which are words that I try not to have in my vocabulary, but the thoughts still creep up. So when they do come in, I'm always going to tell myself, like, okay, so when a bad thought creeps up, I'm always like, no, that's not true, because it'll either be my depression or my mental illness, or like, one of those things creeping up trying to tell me things, to tell me I'm a bad person. So I'll fill it with 3 positive things, like, okay, like, I'm funny, I'm kind, I'm caring, and then but always fill it with 3 positive things. And yeah, so this is way over the time that I usually do. I apologize for that. These aren't always going to be the way that I want them to be, but they are always going to come from the heart. So I really appreciate you guys, and I really appreciate you guys following these things, and we're going to see how this all goes. It's not always going to be the format that I want it to be, but it's always going to come. Well, no, it is, because it's always going to come from the heart. Okay. And that's one thing that I always want to be, is true to you guys and true to me. So, thank you guys for following along with my journey. I appreciate that. So, the whole, and I'm never going to be serious about that, because I always feel weird about it. So hit like and subscribe. And keep coming back for more, right? Like it always says, because you never know what's going to resonate with you, and what's going to ring true to you, and what's going to help you be your best self. And for me, I know this is actually helping me, because it helps me get over my shyness. It also helps me get over, this keeps me committed too. This keeps me doing my running, and I really appreciate you guys helping me keep accountable to my stuff. So I love you guys, and you know what? Let's do this together, right? So back to marathon training today. Love you. Have a great day. Bye.